Hey there, Alex Kidman here with my quick video review of the Yubikey 5C NFC, an authentication device from Yubico designed to make it more secure to access your online accounts, no matter what they might be. Now, this is going to be a slightly different review to most of mine because I'm not going to show an awful lot of the key in use, and that is very deliberate. And the reason that's deliberate is because I've used it to secure my own accounts. They're private to me. That's my business, not yours. I'll do my best to show what they can do, where they're good and where they're not, and whether or not they're really suitable for consumers. From a design perspective, it's a pretty simple little device. This one, the 5C NFC, is NFC and USB-C based, but they do also make them with Lightning and USB-A types. They do have some that actually have biometric unlocking, so fingerprint style unlocking. While that is a touch panel, and that is actually important in how you use it, this is purely to indicate that a human has used it, that it's not some kind of software hack trying to get into their authenticator app. You get this small loop here for attaching it to your keyring. I've actually had a different Yubico on my keys for a number of years now, and it has stood the test of time in terms of durability. This thing is IP68 rated, so you could get it wet, you probably shouldn't. And look, it's reasonably tough. I mean, if you feel like watching it, look, I'll drop it here a couple of times. I've got no particular problems doing that. I wouldn't necessarily run over it with your truck, though. Pretty simple device, pretty small, pretty light, looks an awful lot like a thumb drive. That's kind of it from the design point. So what does it do? The whole point of the Yubico is that you use it either as a secondary form of authentication or to access one-time passwords, typically there, again, as a secondary form of authentication for online accounts. And it really is pitched very heavily at the business community, where the list of protocols it supports is important, and equally so are the list of services it supports. I'll do a quick scan through here, and you'll probably notice an awful lot of them are business-centric. But there are consumer-focused services in there. You can use this to get access to your Google accounts or your YouTube or your Instagram or Twitch or Epic Games. The list is growing, but it's still not particularly consumer-focused. And the way this works, well, here's the thing. It depends on the service you're using it for. So, for example, with Google accounts, if you wanted to use this with Google accounts, you'd actually go into your Google account and add it as a hardware key, plugging it in via USB-C to the device you were connected to at the time. Probably a laptop, but you could theoretically do this with a phone or tablet. I've done this across a Mac and PC to check that it works. And yeah, it works. You set it up as an authenticator key. Now, ideally, you should either have two of these or very carefully take note of the backup passcodes that Google, for example, would provide you. Most services will provide you with backup codes, because if you lost this, if it was damaged or stolen from you, you'd want a way to still be able to get into your accounts. And you use this to get into those accounts when requested, because from the time you authenticate with it, it will say, right, you now need this plugged in, or because it's NFC, tapped on to authenticate. That's for those services that do that. Now, for some services, they use authenticator codes, typically 6-digit codes, time limited, to get you login. And Yubico has an app for that, available for PC and Mac and Android and iOS. And with that, you then set this up effectively as your access key to the authenticator app itself. On the consumer side, there are fewer sites that do that, but for example, Epic Games is one of them. I have set this up successfully with Epic Games to give me my one-time passwords through the Yubico Authenticator app. And the way that I do that is actually quite simple. Once it's set up, again, they have instructions on the side. I'm not going to run through all of them because there are literally hundreds of services. And here again, I'm not automatically going to show you exactly how I've gone through that whole process because it's private to me. But essentially speaking, I can take this phone here, for example, and tap it to the back, and it will actually open up. I've just felt the vibration. You'll have to take my word on it. It will open up the Yubico app, and it will show me my authenticator code, which I will blur out here with a picture of my cat, because again, my business, not yours. And look, that's the fundamental promise of this particular key. So is it worth buying? Well, look, it depends. There's very little doubt that Yubico is still targeting that enterprise and business market predominantly. At the consumer end, it's a very nice, very high security way to lock down those accounts, and you should be using some form of multi-factor authentication where it's available. It is arguably more secure than, say, for example, using SMS messages, because those can be intercepted, your number can be spoofed, that kind of thing. That can be a bit of an issue. And of course, it has the benefit that because the authenticator app is essentially just time-based, it doesn't actually require online connectivity. Now, you can obviously get authenticator apps, Google Authenticator, for example, for nothing. So you might be thinking, well, why do I pay for this? The answer there is pretty simple because, again, Authenticator can just be opened by someone if you haven't locked it down yourself. This provides a way to say, well, in order to get access to my Authenticator codes, to get access to my accounts, you've got to have this as well. That being said, at its asking price, it is kind of pricey. It's the kind of thing that a lot of businesses are going to look at and go, yep, totally worth it to secure our businesses. Only you can really work out whether or not it is worth it for you to meet the asking price is a particular key. But does it do what it says on the tin? Yeah, absolutely.